CTV News at 5 with Hudson Mack.
3 teenagers camping near Nanaimo say they were victims of a random attack this morning, blinded by a stranger who was carrying pepper spray. The teens had pitched a tent behind Seaview School to camp overnight, and when one of them stepped out of the tent to investigate a strange noise, he told police he was sprayed in the face. That's when his 2 friends came to help, and they were hit too.
At this time, we have no information on the suspects. The victims, because they were sprayed immediately, say they cannot identify him in any way, and they have absolutely no information on the suspect. None of the youth were injured in the attack. They did require some treatment from EHS, but they did not require hospitalization.
Okay, you mind pushing it back?
Police say they don't know a motive, and there's no description of the attacker because the kids couldn't see anything. Anyone who has any information about the case is asked to contact the Nanaimo RCMP at 754-2345. I had a preview of that. A huge stash of counterfeit cash has been seized in Nanaimo. Fat stacks of $20s and $100 bills found along with significant amounts of heroin and marijuana. When police raided a home on Nickel Street last night, RCMP say they have arrested 3 people in the case. Well, Victoria police have seized more than $10,000 worth of stolen goods in a raid on a home that's just blocks away from police headquarters. Police say the home on Caledonia Avenue was littered with stolen property, everything from scuba gear to a comic book collection worth an estimated $8,500.
And what we see here is when we have a residence like this with obviously this sort of material that you see behind me, there's nothing that's out of bounds. They'll take anything and everything. Anything that has any resale value whatsoever, they'll take.
Vic PD have arrested 3 people in the case, all of them known to police. 2 women and a man, all in their 20s, will likely face charges of possession of stolen property. A Victoria City councillor is lending his name to a campaign calling on the Canadian government to pardon Francophone soldiers who took part in a mutiny at the end of the First World War. Supporters of this movement gathered on a downtown street corner this morning to try to raise awareness of the issue. It was on this date in 1918 that 9 French-Canadian conscripts refused to deploy to Siberia. The soldiers were forced, however, on board the ship SS Tista at the point of a bayonet and were shackled together on board.
My gut feeling is that our campaign will focus on the historical aspects, on making the case that we're putting forward in the legal brief that the government acted unlawfully, that the Military Service Act did not give it the power to conscript soldiers and to force them to embark for Russia.
This case was high profile at the time because the war on the Eastern Front had actually ended 6 weeks before the mutiny. When they returned, the men received sentences from 30 days to 3 years in prison with hard labor. Canadian Blood Services is asking you to roll up your sleeves this holiday season to give a gift that will keep on giving. 30,000 eligible donors are needed across the country to donate blood before the end of the year. More than 400 donors are needed in Greater Victoria to help meet the needs of patients in the hospital region. The staff say collecting blood during the holiday season is always a challenge.
But the need for blood, as you well know, never stops. I mean, car accident victims, as an example, we need to get 50 donors in the door to support a car accident victim. But there are other areas where blood is always needed. People need blood on a regular basis for blood disorders and things like that, plus the cardiovascular surgeries and all kinds of other surgeries. So the need never stops. So we need to reach out and get these people that have often thought about doing it to come out right now.
Staff say they have 225 slots open next week alone between Christmas and New Year's, and if you'd like to help out and donate, you can do so booking an appointment. Go online to blood.ca. There is a new poll surveying the opinions of British Columbia voters out today, and the numbers show very little goodwill towards the Christy Clark Liberals. The Forum Research Survey found that if an election were held today, the NDP would be poised to win with 34% of the popular vote. Support for the BC Liberals is eroding to the BC Conservatives, with both parties in a statistical tie at 23%. The Greens follow up at 15%. The Premier's personal approval rating has also dropped. Christy Clark now sits 8 points behind NDP leader Adrian Dix and just 6 points ahead of Conservative leader John Cummins. And when you look at voters who disapprove of the leader's job performance, the numbers for the Premier don't look good either. One political scientist says the numbers show that BC Liberals are in fact in crisis.
If the Conservatives somehow were to pull a rabbit out of the hat and surge past the Liberals, you could see a stampede towards them that kind of thing has happened before. It's how the BC Liberals came to power. It's how the Socreds came to power before them.
The Conservatives and the NDP see the numbers as a gift just in time for the holidays. Both parties believe that the figures are the beginning of a trend which will send them both to victory in 2013.
We are the only party now in British Columbia that can deny and are denying the NDP government the next time around. But you know, it's an interesting time for us, I think, and an interesting time for British Columbia.
I think the hunger for change in British Columbia is real, and I think the problems for the BC Liberals under Christy Clark, you know, they thought they could change the leaders and make people forget about Gordon Campbell, but it's the arrogance of this government that people are remembering, and the 6 months that she's had in office now have been a constant reminder of that. So,
Well, 2 Victoria businesses are teaming up again this year to host a Christmas dinner for nearly 700 people. Staff and volunteers were busy preparing St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church today. Gordy Dodd of Dodd's Furniture has been hosting Thanksgiving dinners for the last 14 years, and this is the second time that he and a local cab company have teamed up for a Christmas event. But Dodd says the spirit of giving isn't just about making big gestures.
If you give in a day, it's not, you know, just like money or food, you know, it's like inspiration, or you give them books, counseling, or something, you know, you can do, even helping to the old people getting into the bus. You know. And then at the end of the day, you will be feeling so happy inside that you have helped somebody.
This is the first time the dinner has been held at St. Andrew's. In previous years, the event was held at our place on Pandora Avenue. Port Alberni RCMP are investigating after a man's body was found floating in the water at Fisherman's Harbor. The 56-year-old man was spotted by a passerby about 5:30 this morning. Police say emergency responders were called to the dead man's boat the night before because he had been suffering from a health issue. However, he refused medical attention. No foul play is suspected. Oceanside RCMP needs your help and are asking for you to assist them in finding 3 men who brutally attacked a Parksville man. He was assaulted in November while walking home on the Island Highway near the Englishman River Bridge. The 32-year-old was punched and kicked and struck with skateboards. His attackers then robbed him, an item that police are keeping confidential. The victim suffered multiple fractures, broken ribs, and cuts.
There's a Caucasian male who is medium build, about 5'6", sandy curly hair with a baseball cap. That second person is a Caucasian male. He's noted to have an acne scarred face, skinny build, 5'6", wearing an army-style jacket, and I can't be sure of the color of that jacket. The third male is a heavy-set native male with what is described as a Justin Bieber haircut of the day. We believe that these individuals are local individuals.
All 3 men have been described as being between the ages of 16 and 20. Anybody who has any information on the attack is asked to contact Oceanside RCMP. A Coombs woman known for her work rescuing feral rabbits from the campus of the University of Victoria has taken her crusade to Alberta. Susan Vickery has convinced the City Council in Canmore to allow her to rid the community of its feral rabbit population humanely. Vickery's group is going to move and house the rabbits, which the town was considering trapping and killing. About 600 feral rabbits were moved from the UVic campus to Vickery's sanctuary earlier this year. The Canmore rabbits will not be brought to Vancouver Island. They'll be relocated to sanctuaries in Alberta. After one of its biggest seasons in history last year, Mount Washington on Vancouver Island is having one of the sunniest and driest Decembers on record. The snow fell fast and furious in November with La Nina in full force. Temperatures were plunging and the mountain opened ahead of schedule, ready for another banner year. But they may have been counting the snowflakes before they fell. The dry conditions are leaving the so-called powder hounds wishing for more. The mountain says it should be coming soon, but they do have about a 100-centimeter base or more with groomed conditions and lots of snow.